Good afternoon, Eyton Shalom at the Body Mind Wellness Center. I'm here today to introduce you to some breathing techniques called Pranayam in yoga. My guru, Yogi Ramaiah, would translate the word Pranayam as the art of mastering the breath. I'm going to introduce you to some Hatha Yoga Pranayam, some Kriya Yoga, Hatha Yoga Pranayam. And getting back to the idea that pranayam is mastering the breath. Mastering is a big word. I would just say that it's a method in which you learn how to have healthy, deep abdominal breathing, diaphragmatic breathing. I find that many of my patients that I treat for various problems, especially anxiety or anything related to that, a lot of my patients don't breathe well. They don't breathe deeply. And the fact is that in order for all of your muscles of your chest and abdomen to relax, you need to breathe well, because breathing, let's describe for a minute what happens when you breathe. You have two lungs, two pulmonary lobes. They cannot breathe on their own. They're just large sacs, like sponges. Let's simplify it to call them sponges. And the air, the oxygen, the air with oxygen in it, comes into the most delicate tissues of the lungs. And those tissues are so fine that they're able to take the oxygen out of the air, and that's where it enters the bloodstream. And that happens because the diaphragm, which is a giant muscle which transverses the entire, if we think of our torso as a cylinder, the diaphragm is like a plunger. It's like the press coffee. It's a plunger that goes from front to back. And when you take a deep breath in, or any breath in, the diaphragm muscle goes down, and then that forces the lungs to go with it. And when you exhale, the diaphragm goes up. Well, the diaphragm, being a muscle, is subject to the same tension that the rest of the muscles of the body are subject to, from the fight or flight response and from chronic sympathetic nervous system drive, where people, and this happens with all kinds of people, frightened people, high achieving people. I had a patient recently who is a man, and he's a high achiever, and he's in law enforcement, and he finds it, he has got a lot of pain up here, and he's a very shallow breather. And so he's fundamentally carries a lot of tension in his abdomen and chest. So I'm teaching him how to breathe in order as a way to relax all this. So the benefits of breathing are fundamentally that pranayam, or conscious breath work, helps calm the nervous system, get it out of the fight or flight response into the relaxation response. So pranayam is fundamentally very valuable for people who are on the anxious side. It's also very valuable for people that are on the aggressive, intense, angry side, whatever the spectrum you want to use of the fight aspect of the nervous system, ranging from very nice people that are high achievers to aggressive bullies, all of that spectrum. It's a spectrum, just as you have a spectrum of people that are nervous types all the way to somebody with a complete anxiety disorder. So when someone goes through stress management or anger management, they teach them, take a nice deep breath, right? When a little child comes to you and they're all excited about something and they're speaking so quickly you can't understand anything, what do you tell them? You say, slow down, take a nice deep breath. Okay, so that's a little bit of a theoretical introduction. Let's get to the how-to part. As with meditation, it's very nice to do your pranayam seated on the floor, legs crossed. If you're comfortable in the half lotus, do it. If you're comfortable in the lotus, do it. If you're only comfortable with your legs crossed, do it. If you're uncomfortable sitting with your legs crossed, it's perfectly okay to sit in a chair. Sit in a flat chair. Don't sit back against the chair. Sit on your sit bones, your ischial tuberosities, and drink a little bit of water a little while beforehand so your mouth's not dry, but don't drink immediately before. My mouth's dry, so I had to drink something. One thing I learned from Yogi Ramaiah, and I completely agree with him, is that when we do breath work, when we do pranayama, or pranayam, or pranayamam, as they say in Tamil, air is fundamentally drying. Just like Vata dosha is the dosha in Ayurveda that suffers from dryness, air or wind, which is the movement of air, is drying. Everybody can understand that. People get chapped skin in windy weather. If you hang up your clothes to dry in the sun, if you hang up your clothes to dry and there's no sun, but it's windy, they dry. If it's sunny and there's no wind, they dry, because fire is drying and wind is also drying. You put your clothes in the dryer, and it's not just heat, it's wind and heat, right? The turning around. So to lubricate your throat and protect it from the drying effect of the pranayam, and also from the fact that pranayam can produce some heat, we drink a very small amount of sesame oil. The best high-quality sesame oil I can find is Eyton brand organic sesame oil, unrefined. That's the one that you can want to get if you can find it. I buy mine on Vitacost.com. I'm not plugging them. I'm not getting paid by them. That's the best sesame oil. In India, we would get hand-pressed sesame oil. If you can't find that sesame oil, get any sesame oil. If you can't find sesame oil, use coconut oil, use olive oil. So you're just going to, there's about an eighth of a teaspoon. Just drink enough to lubricate your throat a bit. It'll seem weird at first, but it's not. Second thing is you're going to, pardon me, I'm holding my hands up to show you. You're going to place one palm over the other palm like that, with your thumbs lightly touching. And it's useful to keep track of the number of inhalations and exhalations. And the way Yogi Ramaiah taught me to do that was, I'm taking this hand away. When you complete one inhalation, exhalation, you move your finger. Two, that's 3, that's 4. Or you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever works for you. Okay. So you're sitting comfortably. If you're in a chair, the soles of your feet are on the floor. You're sitting on your ischial tuberosities. And take a moment and relax your shoulders. Just let them relax a bit. There we go, that's good. Take a moment and drop into your body. Take a moment and calm yourself. And the technique now is going to be when you breathe, you're going to breathe in slowly, and you're going to breathe in a slow, measured fashion. And you're going to count how long each breath takes. You're going to count in your head how long each inhalation takes. And then what you want to do is match the exhalation to the inhalation. So if you get to a count of 16 on the inhalation, which is what I personally typically get to, then make sure that your exhalation is 16 as well. If your exhalation is only 14, then that means you have to slow it down a bit. So that's one thing. Is this, by the way, this pranayam is called Matrika Pranayam. And it's a pranayam in which we're taking long, slow breaths, and we're going to make sure that the exhalation and inhalation last the same amount of time. And how do we breathe? as we we're going to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. We're not doing anything with our hands, just both nostrils in, both nostrils out. And we are going to, as we breathe in, we're going to imagine that the air is filling our abdomen, that the air is going all the way into the base of the abdomen, the lowest part of the lungs. And then as the lower part of the lungs fill up, then the next part, then the middle part, then the upper part, all the way up to the top of the lungs. So as we inhale, we're going to recruit the muscles of the abdomen to push out so that the diaphragm goes down further. And as we get to the top, we're going to we're going to recruit the muscles all the way up to the intercostal muscles. The intercostal muscles, I was touching my neck, I didn't mean that. The intercostal muscles of the upper part of the chest to expand. So we're kind of gently but forcefully causing the lungs to take in more air than you normally would in a normal breath. That's the key point. The mastery of the breath is consciously breathing. Breathing is normally an unconscious process. That's why when you're running fast, you don't think to breathe faster. It just happens. If you're terrified, you breathe really fast, and then you're so terrified you can't even breathe. You're frozen, right? And that's why a lot of people with anxiety, which is a form of fear, their diaphragms become frozen and they don't breathe well. If you're angry, your breath goes fast. If you're reading a book that you love on a calm summer day under a tree, your breathing gets very slow. When you sleep, your breathing gets slow. If you have a nightmare when you're sleeping, your breathing suddenly, you wake up and your breathing's pounding and your heart's pounding, your breathing's going really fast. As I'm explaining this right now, my breathing's going really fast, but it's shallow. I'm not actually breathing deeply right now because I'm talking. But I always breathe from my diaphragm because I learned how to breathe like this at such a young age, 45 years ago. And okay, so we're going to consciously breathe deeply and slowly. And then on the exhalation, starting with the lower abdomen, all the way to the upper abdomen. And then on the exhalation, we're going to compress these muscles as if you're squeezing like this from top to bottom, and you're going to expel the air from the top part of the lungs, the middle part of the lungs, all the way to the lowest part of the lungs. Okay? And a key point to make is that you don't want to strain. I've used the word forcefully, but I did say gently but forcefully. By force, I simply mean exertion. So there's no strain here. You want everything to be gentle. And I find, because I'm a naturally intense person, which is the Pitta dosha in Ayurveda, that I have a tendency to overdo things. And so I have a tendency to be too intense in my inhalation and exhalation. So I sometimes find that in the middle of the first breath or the second breath, I calm myself down and slow myself down. It's better if you don't even do that. But just be alert to whether you're, on the one hand, overdoing the intensity of forcing the inhalation, on the other hand, not forcing it enough. Okay? So I'm going to demonstrate, and I don't know if the computer, the cell phone, will pick up the sound of the breathing, but there's a natural sound that's made by the air going through your throat, because as you're taking a conscious deep breath, your throat opens up a bit, and as you're exhaling, it closes down a bit. And so you might notice that there's a sort of a ah-ee sound being produced. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate. And you close your mouth, close your eyes, and your tongue is just resting, lightly touching the roof of your mouth. That's what your tongue's doing. I want to see if I can, I don't know if there'll be enough light, let you see what's happening here. So let's see. Oh, here's my abdomen. So this is my belly button. So here's my abdomen. I'm going to breathe in now. Let's see if you can see. I don't know. Sorry about the light. Can I turn it this way? Oh, good. Okay. I don't know if you can see that as I'm inhaling, as I'm doing what's called purakam in Sanskrit, the belly's coming out, and that's forcing the diaphragm down, which is forcing my lungs to expand more. I don't know if you could hear, I could hear that by my fifth breath, my inhalation was much deeper and more powerful. It kind of, your lungs have to warm up a little bit, especially when you're older. So I'm going to do it one more time. I don't know if you could see that my chest lowered. So it's out of the top of my chest, now the middle. And then finally the lower. So that's what's called Matrika Pranayam. I need to check what time it is. I'm going to show you one other technique. That's called Matrika Pranayam. So again, to summarize, long, slow breath. First of all, diaphragmatic breathing, long, slow breath. Count in your head so that the breaths are the same amount of time on the inhalation or purakam and the same amount of time as on the reshakam, the exhalation. So inhalation and exhalation last the same amount of time. If one is faster than the other, lengthen it. If, let's say, your inhalation is 20, and by the way, it's arbitrary. People count at different speeds, but count in a slow way. Don't count in a, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's that kind of tempo. If, let's say, your inhalation is 20 and your exhalation is 24, you can't force your inhalation to be 24 if you're already at your maximum. But if your inhalation is 20 and the exhalation is 24, it might be that you're not inhaling as far as you might, or that your inhalation. Sorry, somebody's here. Or hey, or that you're someone's coming. I'm going to end the video. Or that you're in, or that actually, can you just put it down? I'm in the middle of making a video. Just put it on the chair. Okay, thank you. All right, thanks. Sorry, food delivery. Where was I? Okay, so it might be if your inhalation's 20 and your exhalation's 24, you might not actually be inhaling as deeply as you might, doing the in-breath as deeply as you might. So you could see, okay, let me see if I can breathe more deeply. But if you're absolutely at your maximum inhalation and your exhalation is still 24 and your inhalation is 20, then you'll actually slow down your exhalation. It means that you're exhaling too fast. If you have any questions, simply write it in the comments and I'll be happy to respond. And I realize that I have to go, so next video will be some additional pranayam techniques. One last point. if you have no clue and can't get the grip, can't grasp the idea of the diaphragmatic breathing, lie on your back, put a heavy book on your abdomen, and breathe normally, and that'll start to help you realize where your diaphragm is and what it feels like to use it in your breathing. Okay, thank you for tuning in. Eyton Shalom at the Body Mind Wellness Center. Thank you very much. See you next time.